Before you watch this heartwarming true story, hit that like button and subscribe to witness one of the most beautiful moments of kindness rewarded that you'll ever see. This is a story about a young girl who helped a stranger without expecting anything in return, and how that one act of pure compassion changed her family's entire life forever. This will restore your faith in the goodness of people. Don't miss it. ****. A young girl named Sarah stood at a bus stop in Boston. She was 14 years old. She was wearing a school uniform. She was waiting for the bus to take her home from school. In front of her, an elderly woman fumbled through her purse, looking for money for her bus fare. The woman was probably in her 80s. She was small, frail, and dressed in simple, old-fashioned clothes. She had kind eyes, but she also looked tired. She looked like she'd lived a hard life. The bus driver was getting impatient. "That'll be $2.50, he said firmly. The old woman kept searching. Her hands were shaking. She kept pulling out coins, counting them, realizing she didn't have enough. "I'm short a quarter," she said softly to the driver. "Can I give you what I have?" The bus driver shook his head. "No, ma'am. Exact change or a card." He was ready to close the door and drive away, leaving the old woman standing there. The other passengers were watching, but nobody was doing anything. Sarah couldn't stand it anymore. Without thinking, without hesitation, she stepped forward and handed the bus driver a dollar bill. "I'll pay her fare," Sarah said simply. The old woman tried to protest. She tried to give the money back. But Sarah just smiled and said, "It's okay. I hope you have a nice day." Then she sat down on the bus, and the old woman sat down across from her. Neither of them knew it yet, but that simple act of kindness, paying $2.50 for a bus fare, was about to change both of their lives in ways they couldn't have imagined. What happened in the weeks and months following that moment on the bus was nothing short of miraculous. Why this works ***, you're hooked by the genuine kindness and the mystery. A girl helps a stranger. But who is the stranger really? What happens next? Sarah's life. Sarah's life was difficult, but she didn't see it that way. Her mother, Maria, was a maid. She cleaned homes for wealthy people in Boston. She worked long hours for modest pay. She cleaned 5 houses a day, 5 days a week, and still barely made enough to pay rent and put food on the table. Sarah's father had left when Sarah was young. Maria had to raise Sarah alone. There was no child support. There was no family money. There was just Maria's work ethic and her determination to give Sarah a better life. They lived in a small apartment in a less wealthy part of Boston. The apartment was clean and neat. Maria made sure of that. But it was small. Sarah shared a bedroom with her mother. They shared one bathroom. They didn't have much. But what they had was something more valuable than money. They had love. They had kindness. They had values. Maria had taught Sarah from a young age that people were more important than things. That helping others was more important than having nice things yourself. That being a good person mattered more than anything else. Sarah went to a public school. She got good grades. She was kind to her classmates. She was the kind of girl who would help someone even if it meant sacrificing something for herself. The decision to help. When Sarah saw the old woman struggling at the bus stop, she didn't think about whether she could afford to help. She didn't calculate whether it was worth $2.50 to help a stranger. She just knew that someone needed help, and she had the ability to provide that help. So she did. It was that simple. It was that natural for Sarah. It was who she was. When she got home that day, she told her mother what had happened. Maria hugged her daughter. "That was kind," Maria said. "That was the right thing to do." "But I lost $2.50, Sarah said. "No," Maria replied. "You invested $2.50 in being a good person. That's never a waste." Sarah believed her mother. She didn't regret the decision. She forgot about it almost immediately and went on with her life. The old woman's secret. What Sarah didn't know was who the old woman really was. Her name was Eleanor Hartford, and Eleanor Hartford was worth $3.2 billion. Eleanor had been born in Boston 83 years ago. Her father had been a businessman. She had grown up wealthy, but she'd never let that wealth define her. She'd always believed in treating people with respect, no matter what their station in life. When Eleanor's father died, he left her a substantial inheritance. Eleanor had invested that money wisely. She'd started businesses. She'd made smart financial decisions. She'd built her wealth into something extraordinary. But Eleanor had never forgotten where she came from. She had never forgotten her father's lessons about kindness and respect for all people. Eleanor lived simply, despite her enormous wealth. She didn't need mansions or jewelry or yachts. She had a comfortable house, but nothing extravagant. She had a car, but it was practical, not flashy. She dressed plainly. She lived humbly. To the world, Eleanor Hartford looked like just another elderly woman. Most people had no idea who she was or how much money she had. Eleanor had spent her life doing work she believed in. She'd served on boards of non-profit organizations. She'd donated anonymously to causes she cared about. She'd lived a quiet, meaningful life. But in recent years, Eleanor had become less active. She was older now. She tired more easily. She spent more time at home, going out less frequently. The day on the bus. On the day that Sarah paid her bus fare, Eleanor was traveling to visit a non-profit organization that she'd been supporting for 30 years. She'd left her house in a hurry that morning. She'd forgotten to bring her transit card. She dug through her purse looking for coins, knowing she didn't have enough. She was embarrassed. She was an 83-year-old woman who had billions of dollars, and she couldn't find $2.50 for bus fare. It was almost funny if it wasn't so humbling. And then a young girl had helped her, without being asked, without expecting anything in return. Just simple, pure kindness from someone who had so little. Eleanor was moved. She was reminded of something important. She was reminded that kindness still existed in the world, that there were still people who cared about others more than they cared about themselves. As Sarah sat across from her on the bus, Eleanor found herself studying the girl. There was something special about her, something genuine. Eleanor made a mental note of what Sarah looked like. She didn't know Sarah's name. She didn't know where Sarah lived. But she didn't forget her face. The months that followed. After that day on the bus, Sarah's life continued as it always had. She went to school. She came home. She did her homework. She helped her mother. She lived her life as a normal 14-year-old girl in Boston. Her mother continued to work as a maid. The financial situation remained difficult. Money was always tight. Sarah never thought about the old woman again. She'd helped her, and that was that. She didn't help people expecting anything in return. She helped them because it was the right thing to do. The investigation. But Eleanor Hartford didn't forget. After that day on the bus, Eleanor became obsessed with finding the girl who had helped her. She hired a private investigator. Eleanor described what she remembered. A young girl, probably 14, in a school uniform, at the bus stop on 5th Avenue near Market Street in Boston, on that particular Tuesday afternoon. It should have been impossible to find. The bus company had thousands of riders per day. How could one girl be identified? But Eleanor's investigator was good. He watched the security cameras from that bus stop. He found the footage. He identified the bus. He got the bus company to help him. After 3 weeks of investigation, he found her. Sarah Chun, 14 years old. Lives with her mother, Maria Chun. Mother works as a maid. Eleanor read the report about Sarah. She read that Sarah was a good student. She read that her mother worked hard to support her. She read that they lived in a modest apartment. She read that Sarah spent her free time volunteering at a local community center. Eleanor smiled. She'd made the right choice in wanting to find this girl. The plan. Eleanor didn't contact Sarah directly. She was too old-fashioned, too thoughtful for that. She knew that showing up and offering money might embarrass Sarah and her mother. Instead, Eleanor did something different. She created a scholarship. She established the Good Samaritan Scholarship at Sarah's school. It was a full-ride scholarship for a student who demonstrated exceptional kindness and community service. It covered all 4 years of high school, including books, lunches, and school materials. The scholarship was awarded by the school's administration. The school had no idea that Eleanor Hartford was behind it. They just knew that a generous anonymous donor had created this incredible opportunity. Sarah was nominated by her teachers. They wrote about how she was always helping other students, how she volunteered at the community center, how she had a kind heart. Sarah was selected for the scholarship. When the school told Sarah and her mother, they were shocked. Maria cried. Sarah was confused. Neither of them understood why they'd been chosen. But they accepted. They were grateful. And suddenly Sarah's life changed. The second gift. The scholarship took a tremendous weight off Maria's shoulders. Now she didn't have to work 5 houses a day to pay for Sarah's school. She could work less, earn enough to pay for rent and food, and still have time to rest. But Eleanor wasn't done yet. Eleanor learned more about Sarah. She learned about her dreams. Sarah wanted to go to college. She wanted to study medicine. She wanted to become a doctor. But college was expensive. Even with the scholarship, college would be difficult for a girl from a poor family. So Eleanor did something else. She established a second scholarship specifically for Sarah. When Sarah turned 18 and was ready for college, a full-ride scholarship to Boston College would be waiting for her. It would cover all 4 years of medical school too. Again, Eleanor did this anonymously. Sarah had no idea who was making this possible. As far as Sarah knew, it was just good luck. Just kindness from the universe. But it wasn't luck. It was Eleanor Hartford, remembering the moment a girl paid her bus fare without expecting anything in return. The emotional weight. What was interesting was how this affected Sarah and her mother. Maria was grateful, but she was also conflicted. She had always taught Sarah that they didn't need charity, that they could make it on their own, that they should be proud of what they could accomplish without help. But this help was different. This wasn't pity. This wasn't someone looking down on them. This was someone recognizing Sarah's potential and making it possible for her to reach it. Sarah, on the other hand, was just grateful. She was a teenager. She was excited about the opportunity. She thanked the universe and her teachers and God, but she didn't obsess over where the money was coming from. She just knew that somehow, the world had decided to help her. And that was enough. High school years. Sarah's high school years were transformed by the scholarship. She no longer had to worry about money for school. She could focus on her studies. She could focus on becoming a better student. She could focus on preparing for college and medical school. She graduated top of her class. She was the valedictorian of her high school. At her graduation ceremony, the principal announced all the scholarships Sarah had received. When he mentioned the Good Samaritan Scholarship and the college scholarship, Sarah felt tears in her eyes. Someone believed in her. Someone had decided she was worth investing in. And that belief made all the difference. The college years. Sarah went to Boston College on her scholarship. She studied hard. She was serious about her goal to become a doctor. She volunteered at the hospital. She shadowed doctors. She worked in the emergency room as an intern. She also remembered her mother's lessons about kindness. She tutored struggling students. She volunteered at the community center where she'd volunteered in high school. She helped people who couldn't help themselves. In many ways, Sarah was living out the values her mother had taught her. The values that had led her to pay for an old woman's bus fare on a random Tuesday afternoon. Medical school and beyond. When Sarah was admitted to medical school, fully funded by her scholarship, Maria cried again. Her daughter was going to be a doctor. Her daughter was going to have opportunities that Maria had never dreamed of. Her daughter was going to help people and make a difference in the world. Maria was proud. So proud. Sarah worked hard in medical school. She wanted to be worthy of the gift that had been given to her. She graduated and became a doctor. She specialized in emergency medicine. She wanted to help people in their moment of greatest need. She worked at Boston Medical Center, the hospital where the poorest people in Boston went when they were sick or injured. She chose to work there deliberately. She wanted to help people like her mother. People who couldn't afford expensive private doctors. People who were struggling. The revelation. Sarah was 30 years old when she finally met Eleanor Hartford. Eleanor was 93 years old. She was still alive, still sharp, still living in her simple house in Boston. Eleanor had a lawyer contact Sarah. She asked to meet with her. Sarah was confused. She had no idea who Eleanor Hartford was. She'd never heard the name before. But she agreed to meet. When Eleanor explained who she was and what she'd done, Sarah was shocked. Stunned. She couldn't believe it. "You gave me all of that?" Sarah asked, tears in her eyes. "You paid for my high school? For my college? For medical school?" "Yes," Eleanor said simply. "You paid for my bus fare when you didn't have much money and I had plenty. You showed me kindness without expecting anything in return. I decided to return that kindness." Sarah didn't know what to say. She was overwhelmed. "Why didn't you tell me?" Sarah asked. "Because I didn't want you to feel obligated," Eleanor said. "I didn't want you to change who you are or how you lived your life. I wanted you to become who you were always meant to become." Sarah hugged the old woman. They both cried. The legacy. When Eleanor Hartford died 6 months later, at age 94, Sarah was devastated. But she also understood something important. Eleanor had changed her life. Eleanor had believed in her. Eleanor had made it possible for her to become a doctor and help countless people. And in her will, Eleanor did one more thing. She left a substantial amount of money to establish a charity in Sarah's name. The charity provided scholarships for children of working poor families in Boston. It helped kids whose parents worked hard but couldn't afford to send them to college. It helped kids with potential but without resources. Sarah could have used that money for herself. But she didn't. She used it to help others, just like Eleanor had helped her. She understood that Eleanor's gift wasn't just about money. It was about demonstrating that kindness matters. That one act of genuine compassion can ripple out and change the world. Kindness without expectation. The deepest lesson from this story is about kindness without expectation. Sarah didn't help the old woman because she expected to be rewarded. She didn't think, if I help this person, maybe something good will happen to me. She helped because it was the right thing to do. She helped because she saw someone in need and she had the ability to help. That's pure kindness. That's real compassion. And what's remarkable is that kindness like that doesn't go unnoticed. It doesn't disappear into the world without having an impact. It comes back. It grows. It multiplies. Eleanor noticed Sarah's kindness. Eleanor was moved by it. Eleanor decided to honor it. And because of that decision, countless other people have been helped through Sarah's charity. One simple act of kindness. A 14-year-old girl paying $2.50 for a bus fare. And that act led to thousands of young people getting scholarships. Thousands of young people having opportunities they wouldn't have had otherwise. The judge of character. This story also teaches us that we never know who we're talking to or helping. Sarah didn't know the woman was a billionaire. Sarah didn't help her because she was important or wealthy. Sarah helped her because she was a human being who needed help. But what if Sarah had known Eleanor was rich? What if Sarah had recognized her and thought, this woman is wealthy, she doesn't need my help? Then she wouldn't have helped. And Eleanor's entire response would never have happened. This teaches us something important. We should help people not because of who they are or what they have, but because they need help. We should treat all people with the same respect and kindness, whether they're billionaires or homeless people. Because you never know who you might be helping. The power of recognition. This story is also about the power of being recognized. Sarah had a potential that many people never saw. She came from a poor family. She lived in a modest apartment. Her mother was a maid. Most people might look at Sarah and see someone with limited potential. Someone who would probably have a limited life because of her circumstances. But Eleanor recognized something different. Eleanor recognized that Sarah had character. That Sarah had kindness. That Sarah had the potential to do great things. And because Eleanor recognized that potential and made it possible for Sarah to reach it, Sarah became a doctor. Sarah is now helping people. Sarah is saving lives. How many other Sarahs are out there? How many young people with great potential will never reach it because nobody recognized them? Nobody invested in them? This story teaches us that we should look for potential in unexpected places. We should recognize character when we see it. We should invest in people who might change the world. The ripple effect. Another important lesson is about the ripple effect of kindness. One act of kindness, Sarah paying for the bus fare, led to Eleanor's decision to help Sarah. Sarah's scholarship and education. Sarah becoming a doctor. Sarah treating thousands of patients. Sarah's charity helping thousands of young people. Those young people going to college and having better lives. Those young people having children who will have better lives. One act of kindness. $2.50. And the impact ripples out in ways that Sarah and Eleanor could never have predicted. This teaches us that we should never underestimate the impact of our actions. The kindness we show today might change someone's entire life. It might create a chain of positive effects that lasts for generations. The true value of wealth. This story is also about what wealth is really for. Eleanor Hartford had $3.2 billion. She could have spent it on herself. She could have lived in mansions and worn expensive jewelry and traveled the world. But she didn't. She lived modestly. She used her wealth to help others. She used her wealth to recognize and reward kindness. Eleanor understood something that many wealthy people don't understand. Money is only valuable when it's used to create meaning. Money is only valuable when it's used to help others. Money is only valuable when it changes the world for the better. Eleanor lived a meaningful life. Not because of how much money she had, but because of how she used that money. The connection between people. At the most fundamental level, this story is about the connection between people. Sarah and Eleanor were strangers. They came from different backgrounds. They had different experiences. They had nothing obvious in common. But they were connected by an act of kindness. They were connected by Eleanor's decision to recognize and reward that kindness. And through that connection, both their lives were enriched. Sarah got opportunities she never would have had. Eleanor got to see the positive impact of her generosity. This teaches us that we are all connected, that we all affect each other, that an act of kindness from a stranger can change your entire life. The universal truth. What this story ultimately teaches us is that goodness matters. In a world that often seems focused on money, success, and status, this story reminds us that goodness matters. That kindness matters. That treating people well matters. Sarah was kind when she had nothing to gain. Eleanor recognized that kindness and rewarded it, not for her own benefit, but because she wanted to support goodness in the world. And because of their mutual goodness, thousands of people have been helped. That's the real measure of a successful life. Not how much money you have, not how much power you have, but the positive impact you've had on other people's lives. Final call to action. This story touched your heart for a reason, because it shows us that goodness is real, that kindness is recognized, that our actions matter more than we know. Asterisk, asterisk. If this video reminded you to be kind to strangers, to recognize the potential in others, and to understand that one act of goodness can change the world, asterisk, asterisk like this video right now and subscribe to discover more stories about real kindness, real rewards, and the power of treating people well. Hit that notification bell asterisk, asterisk so you never miss a story that restores your faith in humanity. In a world where it's easy to be cynical, these are the stories we need. Stories that prove goodness still exists. Stories that show that kindness matters. Leave a comment below asterisk, asterisk. Have you ever been helped by a stranger and it changed your life? Have you ever helped someone not expecting anything in return? Have you ever been surprised by how your kindness was received? Share your story. Your experience might inspire someone to be kinder today. Or tell us, who has invested in you? Who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself? How has that belief changed your life? These stories of recognition and investment are powerful reminders of what we can do for each other. Because this story is really about the power of noticing. Eleanor noticed Sarah. She saw the kindness. She recognized it. She decided it was worth investing in. But how often do we notice kindness in others? How often do we recognize potential? How often do we decide to invest in someone else's future? We all have the opportunity to be an Eleanor. We don't need billions of dollars to recognize and reward goodness. We can do it with encouragement. We can do it with recognition. We can do it by believing in someone. And we all have the opportunity to be a Sarah. We can choose kindness even when we have nothing. We can help people without expecting anything in return. We can be the kind of person the world recognizes and wants to invest in. Sarah's story didn't have to happen. Eleanor could have ignored Sarah's kindness. Eleanor could have never found her. Eleanor could have decided that one girl wasn't worth her time. But Eleanor chose differently. Eleanor chose to honor kindness. Eleanor chose to invest in goodness. And because of that choice, the world is different. Better. More hopeful. What choice will you make today? Will you notice kindness in others? Will you invest in someone's potential? Will you choose to be someone who recognizes and rewards goodness? Because the world needs more Eleanors. The world needs people who notice kindness. The world needs people who believe in others. You can be that person. Thank you for watching this beautiful story of kindness recognized and rewarded. I'll see you in the next video where we continue exploring the stories of real people whose goodness changed the world. Now go like and subscribe. And then go notice someone's kindness today and tell them how much it matters. Asterisk, asterisk.